Hello, people of the world watching internet videos that have to do with cars. Welcome to this, my 1990 Honda CRX SI Restoration Series. If you're new here or you missed out on the previous video, I just recently got this car's bodywork wrapped up and now it's in its final primer coat, ready for base and clear. Which means the following step is going to be a fun one. Now that the bodyworking portion is done, at this stage in the restoration, there's nothing holding back the engine bay from being completely finalized. As you'd imagine, it's not ideal having this thing on moving dollies to move around the shop and in and out of paint booths. And when it comes time to spray the final base and clear, I'm not doing it here in my inflatable booth. Yee, heavy. Oh no, I forgot about these. From the factory, these ED, EF generation Civic CRXs, the engine bay on the black ones was not sprayed with clear coat like the rest of the vehicle. And I've kind of made it my signature thing to do satin clear on the engine bays of vehicles that I restore. But when it comes to black, it's literally just gonna look like primer in the engine bay if I don't clear it. In case you aren't aware, this area right here, all the paint was missing because the battery had leaked acid and eaten away at it over the years. While I did strip the exterior body of the car all the way down to bare metal, I didn't feel it needed it in the engine bay, being that this car came from a corrosion-free environment and it still had the original finish in the bay that had never been resprayed before, so a scuff and shoot made the most sense. There's quite a bit of an engine bay in one of these cars that you can't actually see when it's all assembled, but just because you can't see it doesn't mean that I should not try to achieve perfection. That's the whole point. It's statements like this, however, that create unnecessary rabbit holes at times that should have never been created. You know where I can get OEM Honda bushings for the radiator? Please let me know. This is some magical scuff solution. Not sponsored. Stuff smells like cereal. If there's one area that is most likely to chip or scratch on a vehicle's paint surface, it's the engine bay, because you gotta think you're taking parts off and using wrenches in here, unlike most of the exterior of the car. So you definitely want good mechanical and chemical adhesion on the paint in here, so that way it doesn't chip if you bonk into it something metal. Like up inside here, you know that's gonna get bonked with the headlight when you're assembling it. See that right there? These are spots of bare metal. And while they are small, I don't know why I'm yelling, the microphone's on me. And while they are small, they still pose a threat for corrosion if they are not epoxied first. I think I got some left over. I think. Maybe. Being that I don't need much of this stuff, stainless steel measuring cups are the best thing you can have when doing paint and body work. Good quality automotive paint products are extremely expensive, as is literally everything nowadays, but you don't want to waste this stuff. Just the black primer alone on this car, just the primer, was $1,100. That stuff is expensive. I'm telling you that not as a flex, but as why I'm broke. All right, now what is wrong with me? Why can't I? Obviously, before proceeding any further, everything must be clean. We're down. Man, I really hope this stuff is still good because I ain't got none left if it isn't. I feel like I'm churning butter from robot cows. Mix. Recycled boba tea cup. Okay, this is a 1-to-1 ratio. I'm gonna try to do this as neatly as possible. This is probably way more than I actually need, to be honest. Ooh, hopefully this is still good. Now I gotta see if this has an induction time. I think it does. And for those that are not aware, induction time with paint means that it needs to pupate. I'm just gonna lightly, oh, that's a perfect match for the factory e-coat. Just gonna brush it into these areas. I didn't film it, but the stuff that is bare metal, I went over with 80 grit. Not quite sure what happened here. It's like someone drilled a hole in the firewall with a shark. With everything scuffed, cleaned, and the bare metal spots locked down in a 2K epoxy, the engine bay is now ready for paint. There, just like that. It's the following day. I have a Kylie on board. It actually stayed pretty clean in here. I'm actually kind of happy. I thought it was gonna be full of dust, but no. That masking job has now lasted 3 different sessions in the paint booth, and I think there are limitations to how long you can keep a mask job for. If you're looking to have a vehicle repainted and you stop by a body shop, an easy tell to see whether or not the quality of the work is going to be any good is pay attention to the cleanliness and how well they mask off interiors of vehicle to keep dust from ingressing into them. That same level of care will likely carry through the rest of the paint process. So for obvious reasons, I don't want to mess up these fenders now that they're freshly in the black sealer primer. When I do the final DA sand on this thing in 500 or 600 grit, obviously the fenders need to be on the car so that way the body lines are sanded all together uniformly. But, oh, this is nerve-wracking because I'm so close to the door trying to get this bolt out. Carefully, okay. All this will get misted. And the safest location I can think of is up here. So here's the game plan with the engine bay. From the factory behind the fenders, it was all left in gray e-coat. The same with the areas behind the bumper beams where they attach and the hinge areas. In case you're wondering, Kylie randomly sings random words that are not songs and then I chime in and then we go crazy.
I don't got it.
Dabba 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 doo now. Da da da. Perfect. Fresh paper. Slight dilemma I didn't really think about, but the rubber butyl that the windshield was stuck to, if I blow paint on top of that and then go to put more butyl on top of that to put the new glass in, there's a potential there that I could have a windshield leak because if that paint starts to get brittle. Dude, this works so good. Plastic razor blades are like the best inventions ever because they don't cut your paint. I say it was coming off easy and then I got to a part where it wasn't. It is almost time, but sadly, a sacrifice must take place. This OEM Honda decal is the original one and has lasted all these years, but if I just tape over it and paint around it, that's gonna be a potential failure point in the future. And I don't want to cause failing paint. I do have a brand new OEM Honda sticker though. I will bequeath you this tee.
Yay.
Actually, let me see if I can save the sticker. Saving a used sticker is about as logical as saving used toilet paper. It's coming off in fragments. I tried. Maybe. I got it off.
Dude,
that's
pretty good.
It's got a little tiny tear on it, but I got it off. After half a year of sanding, I still have yet to see what the flint black metallic was finally going to look like laid out on some sheet metal. Until now. Oh my God, my camera! 2 hours of musical cars later, I have turned into airport parking. I have Charlie's Mustang while he's on a business trip. All of these little clips are cracked and failing and breaking, and I don't think they're long for this world, especially when I put hardware in them. As a downside of restoring cars from the 90s is plastic stuff like this. It just doesn't survive, especially in the desert regions. It sucks to have to break these out, but I think I should do it because I don't want to have failing paint. You know what? I think I actually ordered 3D printed ones of these. Despite my best efforts of trying to film every single step of the process with restoration of these vehicles, the one thing that does not really convey well enough into these videos is just how much extra time goes into the setup and tear down of every step of this process. And collapse. So it's the following morning, it's also paint day. I'm going over the TDSs for each one of the products I'm gonna be using and verifying all the data and writing it down so that way it's fresh in my memory and I have quick reference on the fly. Kylie and I spent literally 8 hours yesterday just cleaning, taping, masking, scuffing, making sure everything was perfect and ready to go in that bay. I cannot emphasize enough how time consuming that portion of painting anything on a vehicle is. It's astronomical. Okay, prep is ready to go. Starting to get pretty warm, so it'll be perfect because I have a slow reducer. Just a FYI, none of the products I'm using in this video are sponsored. I purchased them all with my own money. So you do with that what you will. There we go. I don't have a Kylie here to help shake. She's in school. Now I just gotta shake up my clear. Just pouring all these out takes like 20 minutes, so this will be a lot quicker doing the activator that way. For those that are not aware, the term pot life when referencing paint has nothing to do with the lettuce which makes you time travel, but more so how long the paint will last inside a container before it starts to harden up. And that greatly varies depending on the ambient temperature in where you are mixing the paint. I'm going to be on the shorter end of the spectrum because I live in a furnace. Everything is mixed up, ready to go. In the booth I go. For those of you that are watching this right now and have never used an actual paint gun before but do have experience with rattle cans, I feel spraying out sealer is very similar in the hand control as what you would get with a rattle can. It's super thin and also only requires 10 psi for this specific brand, so if you're good with a rattle can, I feel you would have a better chance at mastering spraying out something like this with a relatively short learning curve compared to other types of paints. I got good news, I got bad news. Good news is the sealer went on, I did not run out, sprayed out pretty nicely. Bad news is my GoPro overheated right towards when I was done. I'm gonna try swapping out the battery, but I can't wait for it to cool down. So I'm gonna do my best to film this, but as you can see, this isn't a Hollywood set, so that was a joke. I don't even know what Hollywood sets look like. Got my base, gonna do 2 coats. If you've been watching this channel for quite some time now, there's a good chance that you've seen me paint a vehicle or two in the past, and by no means would I consider myself an expert painter. However, I've gotten quite a bit of experience now and had nothing but success and really no terrible paint jobs still to this date, which means I was definitely due to have a major screw up because no one can just paint perfectly without having a failure. I got 1 coat of base on there. I didn't mix up enough paint, so I just had to make another batch. I kind of guessed on how much I would need, so. I'm just lightly overspraying the areas over here in the wheel well. I don't want it fully coated. I want it to look kind of factory, so I don't want a full coat. There we go. So the sealer and the base are now on and look fantastic. I'm super happy with how both of those have sprayed out. Now it's just for the last part, the clear. All right, here goes, clear coat. Feels clear, feels dry. And this is where things start to rapidly go wrong. I don't really like how this is spraying out, to be honest. It's very chunky. Yeah, I really don't like how this clear coat's spraying on. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of hate this. You can see it's spraying really chunky. That just looks terrible. I'm gonna crank up the pressure. Because of the fact that both the sealer and the base coat required 10 psi per the technical data sheet from the manufacturer, the clear coat, however, did not specify a pressure setting. That's better. As you can see here, the TDS does not specify an air pressure at all. So I had to look off of the technical data sheet for a recommended pressure for this manufacturer, and what I found was 10 psi. And that was incorrect because it was head pressure. I got 1 coat of clear on, gotta wait about 30 minutes between coats. Just had to adjust my spray pattern on the fly. I'm reluctant whether I want to do a second coat. And that, people, is why you should always go with your gut instinct. I should not have done a second coat, especially when I had started at only 10 psi. Well, just when I thought everything was going perfect, the last coat of clear coat messed up. Thankfully, it only messed up on this area. I was able to catch it before I did the whole bay, but head pressure and gauge pressure are 2 totally different things. And from someone that's not a professional painter, I don't even know why anyone would use head pressure. Regardless, I sprayed way too much product at far too low of a PSI and resulted in this mess. The intelligent thing for me to do moving forward, since I am not a professional painter and this is not a professional body shop, would be to just pay someone to fix this, but then that would be quitting, and I don't quit, but I also make a living off of these videos, so I'm in a bit of a pickle because now I have to redo this, and I don't think you all are gonna watch that. Since my first coat of clear coat did not have this reaction, it was only the second coat of clear coat, I was able to do a little test sand. The beauty of clear coat is that you can fix bad clear coat jobs. But if this reaction goes too deep, then I'm gonna have to redo this shock tower, which there's seams everywhere. Actually wouldn't be that hard to do. When this happened, kind of in a rushed panic, I grabbed a microfiber that had a little bit of reducer and I just blotted a test spot with it to try to get an idea what was happening. And then I decided to bury a little bit more clear on there to see if I could make that spot go away once it started to flash off. And subsequently, now I have a bunch of clear on here that's allowing me to cut this down. Probably should use a new piece of sandpaper, but had I been an intelligent particular individual, I would have started with this for my second coat. As you see, it has a reaction on it instead of the top of the shock tower, because then that would have saved me a lot of work. I'd bequeath you a fucked up part.
I've been queefed.
It's very easy to accidentally go down the rabbit hole and start wet sanding all of the messed up area. I don't even know if this is gonna polish out, so I should stop.
Damn, that looks good.
I mean, it polished out. So you can see the texture right here that I have not wet sanded, and then over here where I wet sanded, and it comes out, but that's a lot of work for something that has this much detail and contour and different shapes and textures. This area right here where there's the factory seam sealer and welds and stuff, like how the hell are you supposed to wet sand that? That's impossible. And then I got to this part right here. I was able to sand it flat, but now I have all these little tiny white dots, which also kind of looks like solvent pop a little bit. I gotta fix this without going carried away, which means probably just that top of that shock tower and blend it since it's all in the clear. Inside this box is a new old stock genuine Honda firewall pad. And as you see, it covers up most of the painted area, which kind of sucks because it didn't look that bad down there. For the same reason why I don't do my own welding tasks on these projects, because it is something that you have to put thousands of hours into mastering to actually be good at it. The same goes for painting cars. And I've painted a couple on this channel and I've gotten lucky that they've come out good. But this is the time where I am not lucky. Besides, where I was going for kind of like a factory look, where you can see I got my black sealer and I just dusted the base and kind of faded it in right there. That came out exactly what I was hoping for. So that is perfect. Good to go, don't need to do anything to it. Honestly, I should have just left the entire bay in base because the base sprayed out really nice. The part that you see the most when you open the hood is this, and this came out the best out of everything I shot. The T-bar has about a factory level of orange peel for a Honda, and I'm happy with this since that's the first thing you see when you open the hood. This shock tower over here didn't have that effect since there's only one coat of clear on it. It's a little bit more orange peely than I'd like, but I think I was spraying it on a little too wet. Ooh, and are you like the Swedish chef's daughter? You know what I'm talking about, right? Here, you should hold those so they don't fall. Yeah. So you don't see anything other than the brake master sits there. So the only thing I really need to redo is this shock tower, and then that all looks really good. Needless to say, I will not be spraying the final base and clear on the actual body of the car. I have no problem doing primers and sealers myself, but when it comes to the actual final, I just don't have enough practice to risk ruining that car. It's not worth it. That's how you learn. You learn by screwing things up. So I'm just not gonna screw up on anything more that is that time consuming to fix. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you soon with another. Bye.
Beep boop.